Welcome to this video, guys. This is War Piglet, and this episode is all about APC formations. This has to be one of the hottest topics within the game, whether it be in the in-game chat or via the various forums or chat apps, where alliance members often ask, "This is my setup, is it good?" Or "What should I have? These are my heroes," etc., etc. And through screen grabs on the chat apps or whatever, we get a peek at what they have. And of course, you can respond and say, do this, do that. So the idea of this is to potentially bring an easier way, or even a great way of learning more about heroes and hero placement, and ways of learning formations that might be specific for tasks like gathering, kill event, championship duel, farming, whichever. Doomsday tiling, for example. So what we're going to do here, look at a formation. So if we come to our barracks and we look at this formation, this is a typical scenario where we've got these heroes and we want to know, is Forsaken really the best in the front, etc., etc. So to provide an alternative way of looking at all of this, I have come to an APC formation planning sheet using Google Sheets. We shall introduce that now. When you get to the blog on my Last Shelter Survival Group website, this is the introduction to the formation planner, but by scrolling down, you will find the link to the sheet, and I just want to show you how this comes out when you click it. This shall ask you to make a copy. So proceed, this is expected, proceed. So this prevents you from altering the original such that other people don't see your work. We have a copy of the sheet, so whatever you do here will not be viewable by anyone else unless you go to the share settings and share it with other people, which you might do when you want someone else with greater knowledge, like your R4 or R5, to get them to have a look and then say, right, you want to move things like this and this and this. I've built this in Google Sheets specifically because it's universally available and works on tablets and phones as well, although the smaller screens aren't great for navigating this or clicking on pop-ups. Some of the pop-ups don't work so well on a tablet or phone, as I'll demonstrate shortly. Okay guys, just to demonstrate on a tablet, this happens to be an iPad Pro, so large screen. The issue with the Sheets app on a mobile device is the pop-ups. So I select Forsaken there, and I was hoping immediately to get a pop-up. Now I've just touched bottom right, expecting to see the list of items, but no, it looks like I want to overwrite the input field. Let's just try again, another one. If I press a second time, now it comes. Now I can change into Reaper. But yeah, you see it's a little bit fiddly. It works sometimes, sometimes not. Okay, so just be aware. And when you've done this, top left you have the accept tick, the check mark at the top left to come out of the interface to carry on scrolling around and doing whatever you're doing. Now once you've got the sheet up and running and it's a blank, so let's begin by looking through the interface. So we've got to start here. Now these items with the little black triangle show that there's this little pop-up that'll give you further instruction. So this is indicating that you need to start by dictating your barrack level. This sheet has a number of fields that are simply label fields, like all of this on the left, and some empty fields like these that expect you to put numbers in. Wherever you see a drop-down arrow, this is a pop-up for you to populate with information. In this case, it's a hero field. So what we're looking at are your APCs, starting with your class APC, that's your main APC. And then if you scroll to the right, you've got APCs 1, 2, and 3. So you've got 4 APCs represented on this spreadsheet. And let's start with, let's put our name up in the top. So this is useful if you're going to share this, and then we can see, okay, so we're looking at War Piglet's formation. What you're going to do is start, as the instruction says, by indicating your barrack level. So your barrack level up to 25. The barrack level for me is 20 currently, and indicates how many troops are available to serve. So immediately having indicated the barrack level, you can see a troop count for your 3 rows. Another thing to show, the dark region across all 4 APCs and the key on the left, the dark green is your front row. Then you have the middle green as your mid row, and then your back row or third row at the bottom on the lighter green. This illustration tries to represent kind of what you see within the game. You show the 3 heroes in their rows, and then to the right you've got what kind of troops they might be. So using the pop-ups, you could select fighters, vehicles, or whatever the formation is. And you can even dictate the tier. You don't have to do this, but this might be useful for further analysis depending on what you're doing. So the idea with this spreadsheet is that it could be used in many ways. It could be used to show all sorts of options. You might be planning for yourself. You might be asking for help. You might be just using it to see what happens when you make certain choices, for example. And then you get your barracks up to level 25. Your troop count jumps automatically to 27,500 per row just by upgrading your barrack. We're going to take that back to 20. Right, so each hero, you can dictate their hero level, Dictator level, and Awaken level in this dark green area. Now these 2 pink rows in the middle of the formation, one is the leadership column and one is the combat skills column. So each hero, you can designate the various aspects. Again, these little black triangles represent a little pop-up. So this box here says it's expecting leadership skill 4. And it's going to be a number between 0 and 10. 0 meaning that you've not unlocked the skill. Okay. While we're at instructions, similarly in this column, I've only done it for the front row on each as a reminder. Again, with the combat skill, hover over this one, combat skill 2, combat skill 5 should be the next one, and then combat skill 8 is the next. Okay. When you look at this complete APC, you have also a total troop count that will show at the bottom as all of these numbers change. When we populate this in a minute, you'll see all these numbers ramp up and the total count will also ramp up. Furthermore, depending on what you're planning to do with the sheet, you've got the ability to designate an APC role. So if you're telling someone, I think I am setting up a gathering formation, you can label it so here, and then when the feedback comes, they can keep that gathering in mind. We'll set it back to default. Second instruction, advice for moving heroes. So once this is populated, and you pass this to someone else for input, they can use these pop-ups. Now this is all going to make much more sense when we see some data in it. Just before we start that, at the bottom in the dark green area, we have a key as to the various components above. Down here in the dark green area below, we have 2 bits of information. So instruction 3 tells us that you can use a table here to populate with what you have in your hero inventory, what levels those heroes might be, and the 2 important bits of information are Dictator level, that's skill 1, Awaken level, skill 6, both of which play a part in how many troops you end up having in your hero row. On the right here we have a key, and these various alerts or columns show up above. The important ones at the moment are leadership, skills, combat that we've just talked about in these 2 columns. Okay, now we have information populated. So what you're seeing is something that begins to make sense. Now let's just run through a row. So we've got Forsaken in the front position of our class APC, and he's at 44 hero level. His Dictator is 10 and Awaken at 10. So the maximum amount of troops that Forsaken can provide is exactly that. That number will increase with the barrack being leveled up to 25. Leadership skill 7 and combat skill 8 are not unlocked, therefore we have 0, 0. Second row, Arsenal. Again, his hero level and his Dictator Awaken levels. leadership, and combat skills. So not all unlocked. It's also therefore a great way to see where you are, and if you're planning for Hero Day, where you might want to concentrate your efforts in unlocking and leveling, upskilling, whichever. Third row, Shooterman. So this is quite a popular layout with Forsaken in the front row, Arsenal in the middle, and Shooterman at the rear. These formations always depend on what you've got. So remember, the overarching rule with all of this is you're working with what you have, not what you wish to have. Shooterman is in the rear because of his range. What I'm going to do is illustrate some of the reasons for having a spreadsheet like this, because it can automate a lot of information. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to APC 1, and I'm going to fictionalize all of this. What I'm going to do is put Forsaken in there. Now, alert straight away. We've already used Forsaken, so you can't use him twice. Therefore, this pops up as yellow, and the key reflects that duplicate hero use. So let's look at getting an unsuitable hero. Let's get Dawn Guardian. Okay, immediately no duplicate. The warning goes away. However, he's in blue. Why? Because Dawn Guardian has good range, therefore wasted in the front row. Now this brings us nicely on to another component of this spreadsheet. Look at the bottom, you've got 2 tabs. APCs is what we're currently on. This worksheet is where you input your information. The second sheet we will now jump to is purely visual, and it's all about just showing you what we have. I'm going to reduce the size a little bit. This is what it shows. So you have your 4 APC formations, and yours are on the bottom. So you've got your enemy formations at the top that you're targeting. So the idea of this sheet is to take the information from your choices in the first. So we chose Forsaken, Arsenal and Shooterman, and Dawn Guardian. And this illustrates with those choices, and here are their ranges here. Shooterman has a range of 5. Therefore, from his position, he reaches all the way to the back row. This red bar illustrates him getting from his position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's his range of 5. Arsenal only has a range of 3, therefore he doesn't hit the back row, but we've positioned him in the middle. Forsaken also has 3, and he reaches all the way to the back there. Dawn Guardian has a range of 5. We've stuck him in the front row, therefore the reason he showed up in blue was to illustrate that he's overshooting. It's not an error, it's not a bad thing, it's just a waste. You really want, let's do this, to take him out and put him in the back row, because then he is useful. Okay, you see how he reaches all the way through. Additionally, on this sheet, taking the information that you've displayed with your combat and defensive, offensive and hardened skills, it gives you the information according to what you've picked. So front row, middle row, back row, and if you're trying to work out are they the best placement or best heroes, you can refer to this for that information. Let's jump back to APCs and zoom back in. Just going to also show you if, for example, we were to use Reaper and Warhound. Okay, you get an alert. It's not commonly known, but these two don't operate well together. It is in the bio for Reaper. He does not like dogs, so therefore if matched with Hound, you get a debuff. So you don't want to be doing that. So this sheet will warn you if you do not know that kind of information already. Let's swap therefore Reaper with Militant. Militant is a specific hero. Therefore, you get the label F, Fighter Specific Hero. So let's therefore put Razor. He's a vehicle hero. And we have a shooter hero, Iron Guard. So those labels are useful to help you with that, as much as also season heroes. Most of the season heroes are specific. Countdown is a vehicle hero. So you get the bonus of those labels to help you out with your choices. So in doing this, let's just pretend we've got Militant up to 50, and he's also awakened. Just to get some information in here, we won't bother with those just yet. Razor is also 50. 10 and 10, and just get an idea. We pop to the range, you begin to see what's going on with these choices. So getting pretty good coverage there. I mean, essentially every single attack is going to hit the opposition's front, middle and back rows with this hero combination. So you can see immediately using the spreadsheet and just messing around and what if I put these heroes in here? What am I getting? It's very, very handy for that. Correspondingly, what we can do, we know that, for example, Dawn Guardian is a great back row hero. However, if Dawn Guardian isn't leveled up that much, let's just say, he's not even awakened, you're only getting 29,500 troops from Dawn Guardian at level 24. So often, although he's a known good hero for the back, if you only recently got Dawn Guardian recruited, but you've had, for example, someone who's perhaps less appropriate in the back row. Let's just, for example, say you've got, I don't know, maybe you've got Ignis, and he is at level 37 because you've had him for a while, and you've taken his skills up at the front, and maybe you've awakened him. So right away, you're getting 40,462 out of Ignis. Therefore, although he's in blue here as being not necessarily appropriate for the back row, and that's going to be because of his range, so not ideal for this example. So he's here in red, he's only hitting the front row. So not a great example, but the point being, if you're talking about making a gathering APC, and you've got Dawn and Ignis, if Ignis is more leveled up, then he's going to give you more troops. Therefore, you're going to return more resources. This is a great way of demonstrating. If you want to see the stats side by side, go ahead, put your Dawn here and say, he was at level 24 and you only had him up to 7 and he's not even awakened. Right away, you can compare. Let's just assume our barracks are all at 18. Straight away, you can see the difference. Ignis is much more leveled up. So for gathering, great. If this was to be doing offensive work, no good really, because Ignis will only be hitting the front row. So therefore you check again, have you got a hero? It might be another orange hero who's not necessarily the best for the rear row, but as long as he's getting a bit of reach. We've used Arsenal already, but pretend we haven't. Arsenal not necessarily so good in the back row. Let's just double check that. Again, he's like Ignis. Again, not so good. But you see where I'm going. You get the idea when you get troop counts. You can find the balance until you then get Dawn leveled up to be appropriate for your back row. And coming down to the bottom here, again, this is completely up to you how you use this sheet and how far you go. It depends what you're after. If you wanted to fill this out because it's fun, and say you've got all of these spare heroes. Again, if you make a mistake and put Arsenal in there, it should... Okay, it doesn't in this, but it does up here. Let's say we put Razor. You see it's reflecting up here that you've got a dupe. Razor's in here twice. You can stick in all your spare heroes. So when you then tell your R4 to have a look, or R5, or your best mate, whoever it is, it's helpful to put the levels as well, so they know what you're playing with, so they can say, okay, Arsenal no good in the back row, who have you got here that you could put in place? Yeah, you get where we're coming from. Again, it's all dependent on role, and remember that APC formations aren't always static, particularly with the troop types, whether it be fighters, vehicles, shooters, depending on what you're doing. These roles change, therefore you switch out your heroes. Okay, let's say we have Boom Boy here. So straight away, not ideal up front. So we would say Boom Boy. Okay, you can keep in this APC. You could move into a different APC, but we could say move to middle. So this instruction here means move this hero according to this. So you're keeping him in APC 2, but you're moving him to middle. Of course, the person helping you out could refiddle everything and put things into place, or they could leave it like this so that you can see what you've done and then see what they're recommending. Okay guys, that covers everything in the spreadsheet. I hope that made good sense to you. there may be scope in the future to add more functionality. Right now you'll see I haven't covered the destruction power and gathering load figures as well. These things are influenced by APC parts and other perks that make too many variables to make it easy maths to figure out and replicate. But we'll see if we can do something for the future. Well, I hope this video is useful. A link to the spreadsheet is below this YouTube video in the description, and the blog link is also there to get further description about what's going on and a bit about APC formations and heroes. Just a final note, whilst making this video, unfortunately over in England across the world, my father died after 10 years of fighting cancer. And it's just that his life was a fight. He spent many years in South Africa fighting apartheid, and in his loss, South Africa has lost a guardian, and England has lost a shepherd. War Piglet.